Hey, what's up, YouTube? Thank you for watching Killing for Company. My name is Kellen, and today we're going to get into some tapes. I haven't done a tape sort of update for the year, but I don't have a whole lot of tapes. Just, you know, as for full transparency, it's not something that I would avidly collect, but I do want to support physical purchase, you know, bands who are putting out at least something for us collectors. And even though it may not be on a preferred format like vinyl and CD, maybe down the road they get a chance, if there's enough interest and support for the band, where one of those options becomes available to them. So I have a, you know, it's not like I don't have digital access to these bands now. The tape does fade over time. Who cares? I still got the digital copy, and I'm able to support the band that I do enjoy listening to in the first place. So, in the background, we are listening to MSW, which is a band from Oregon, my home state, from Salem. And this is entitled Obliviosus, I believe is how you pronounce that. And it's an album that's been is written as dedicated, I guess, to family members of the artist who have suffered from depression and substance abuse. So it's a deeply personal record, and it sounds that way in the same way that a band like, you know, takes sort of that like doom, sludge, yob sound and pairs it with like the Cascadian black metal. It's a cool sort of blend. There's some piano elements to it. There is plenty of clean sung vocals that sort of add to the melodic and melancholy sound. It did not, you know, one of those things that I generally discovered in the course of the year, and I want to support bands from my home state, and it's also just, it was a fun sort of sad doom listen. I didn't get a lot of those when I think about it. Most of the doom that I came across last year did a lot of things for me, but none of them sort of brought me to those low emotional places like this album did. It definitely got at the sad feelings for me. So anyway, that's MSW. That'll be playing in the background. The first album we're going to talk about today is Civerous. So this is off of Sewer Rot Records, and it's entitled The Expedition of Illness. And what do I want to say about this? Okay, so the compilation is a product of a demo and a split. So the first, I think, 4 tracks are from the demo, and the latter 3 are from the split. And it sort of spans a lot of different influences for the band. The first part is just true death metal. The next couple tracks, they sort of turn into a death and black band. So they're these broader open passages. You don't get a lot of the death metal sort of pummeling. And in those passages, you get sort of these well-crafted black metal riffs that sort of fill in the space, which is actually welcome. When I was listening to it initially, you get used to so much bruising from the death metal. Often bands will just enjoy all of the action. They don't actually take a chance to like breathe It's like you lay waste to everyone in the room. You ever get a chance to like sit on the throne and enjoy yourself, and this band sits on the throne on those last couple of tracks from the demo, and you kind of get why. Okay, so they have like a death metal sound, which places them right dead center in what Civerous is doing, but then you get this a little bit of black metal, which sets them apart. What's really interesting is on the split that they did, they almost transform into more of a death doom act. Those black metal riffs are sort of pulled back, and they instead kind of go for a heavier, slower sound in general. It's no longer interested in sort of that melodic sort of drive that black metal was offering there. They'd much rather just let sort of the weight set in. So I don't know what they're going to sound like in the future if they put out a full length. They've got a bunch of different things to balance. They're definitely, I would say, at their core, a death metal band, but with a whole lot of other interest in the scene. So I'd be interested to see what Civerous has up next. Very cool. I don't know where you're going to grab that. I think that's sold out on Civerous. So if you can find it floating around somewhere on Discogs or something like that, go for it. It's an interesting, project in the sense that they're doing a lot of different stuff. They haven't really found out who they are as a band yet, so that'll be something to pay attention to in the future. Okay, so next up I got for you is Scum Strike. They are what do I want to call this? A metal punk band with a black metal interest or element to them, which is primarily in the vocals. It's got that like completely blown out, distorted black metal vocal sort of presentation where there's just like seething on the top end, and the rest. Here we go. As I drop everything, the rest of the band's an interesting, like, I think metal punk is the best way to describe it. It's not crossover, it's not black thrash, it's very sort of simplistic punk. It's got a little bit of a thrash to it. I don't want to say that, but it almost makes it sound like a crossover band, and it's like, doesn't have a lot of that palm muted sort of mid-paced thrash chug. It's very just straight to the point. So it's like, in that sense, truer as a punk band, but there's enough of it to sort of pull it out of a pure hardcore listen. So what initially drew me in was just how it's unmistakable in terms of the vocals that they're listening to black metal and they're part of that. They're from Quebec, I believe. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have this is on Caligari Records. If I haven't mentioned the title, Execution Void, and I was listening for cool in the early part of 2020, listening for cool thrash metal records, and this was so brazen. That black metal sort of production grabbed me and set it apart from a lot of other more polished thrash metal releases I had listened to at that point. So, and for the early part of 2020, sort of fulfilled that role as a very raw and aggressive thrash metal listen. And as the sort of year unfolded, I kind of saw it as something a little bit different, which is just a unique sort of punk metal blend hybrid. But Scum Strike, there are, I believe, a few of these left over at Caligari, if not on the band's Bandcamp page. But so you can grab this, just an EP. I think we have 5 songs here. around 15 minutes, but just a blistering metal punk listen. So that was Scum Strike. Next up, we got Bible Basher. This is loud wailing, and Bible Basher is out of England, I believe, and this is on Sludge Lord Records. I'm trying to keep everything organized here, but we'll see how that goes. Haven't dropped anything yet. Bible Basher is sort of like, I mean, I could say it's very much rooted in England. It's like Bolt Thrower meets that like UK sludge scene, or even, you know, whatever, I Hate God, Grief, but, you know, Iron Monkey, Fistula, that kind of, that's the cats. I don't know if you hear that. They're wanting some attention. I apologize for the cat distraction. Anyway, total professionalism here. Bible Basher. Yeah, so it opens with this like evangelical preacher. It must be like from a revival or something like that. And it just sets the tone as like this, I don't know, scathing anti-Christian record, right? It is this preacher's talking about how, you know, hell is real, and then there's like the church bell rings and this big sludge riff enters, and that was the first part that I heard to this EP. It's their only thing that they put out, and then you get, you know, this really aggressive vocal presence, so it's not like any sort of post-metal sort of crossover, and it's very much a death metal sludge blend. And the songs unfold that way. There's plenty of double bass going on, super aggressive and distorted, but unlike a lot of the other tapes that I heard from like the major labels that you see getting a lot of attention, that sludge element, even though it may seem rudimentary in structure, like Bolt Thrower, the sludge sort of pulls it away from that kind of crowd and made it a little bit more unique to my ears. That paired with like the anti-Christian Bible bashing was just a whole lot of fun to listen to. Can't wait to see what they do next. You know, all these bands are relatively young, and these are early offerings, which you get with a lot of tape releases, so I think this maybe still be available over at Sludge Lord Records, but a lot of fun, death metal and sludge going on here. So if you like that, like very rudimentary kind of death metal, but want something a little bit different, you may want to check this out as well. Next up, we got something a little bit different here. So this is, I may butcher the name, Arapaima, or Arapaima, Arapaima. I will link all of these to, you know, the bands on Bandcamp or whatever. But a little bit of a story here for Arapaima. It's entitled Nightcolors, and it's on Moon Worshipper Records. So the story here is that when I was in Kansas and doing my radio show, part of it was like highlighting regional talent and record label distribution that otherwise would not get noticed being out in Western Kansas. And Moon Worshipper Records is very much a young, modern label doing primarily power electronics and dungeon synth. So already a super niche kind of scene, even out in Omaha, Nebraska, a very obscure label, right? And what makes it unique is this is just a straight tape here, nothing special going on. So you can tell how DIY this is. This is like bluegrass and dungeon synth. So it's probably going to speak to like your neofolk fans, your dungeon synth fans, your pagan black metal, and I would even say if you like hellbilly but want a bit more of an ambient listen, like that kind of country music that's also like deliberately transgressive and anti-Christian, this is going to be something to mellow out to. I don't know, there's a lot of it sounds like the artists, or artists I should say, plural, are I don't know if they're walking out in nature and taking small samples, or have these long recordings of what it must feel like to walk out in in a forest and just record all the birds and the wind and all that, and then later use like more ambient qualities in a studio or at home to record this. But there's a whole lot of time spent where you're out in nature, and it must be at night too. It's very spooky, but you got that like pagan ambient side to this as well. For a label that primarily does dungeon synth, it was when you're kind of going through and looking for something interesting, this jumped out at me, and spans a few different subgenres along the way. So God help me, I cannot pronounce this to save my soul here, but Moon Worshipper Records, very cool sort of dungeon synth label here in America, and putting out some unique stuff that's sort of unique to the Americana side of black metal. So you may want to check that one out. And last but not least, for sure, I have this is Throat Breach with Humiliating Distortion. I believe that's it. And this was a Desert Wasteland Productions pickup. My God. Okay, so this band, this may be the most like comprehensive death grind release to come out in 2020. It's like 40 minutes long, which is typically something you would get with like a different kind of extreme metal. It's very much a grind release, like has roots in, to me, more Scandinavian grind bands like Rotten Sound, for example. But they also have like super heavy death metal parts, which Dismember or something like that. So the weight and size of this record comes clearly from more extreme metal that we typically don't associate with an American sound, right? But at the same time, they've got like electronic drums. I don't want to say it's like Mortician, or even it's a little bit too heavy to sound like Agoraphobic Nosebleed. But it's well done, and it feels completely realized. This band it's their third LP or third full length, and they've been around for a little bit, but very prolific, like a lot of grind bands are, just staying busy. And this probably, their other full lengths are, around 20 minutes, 20 plus minutes. To go the full 40, there's a lot to digest here. And I hope it gets a vinyl pressing or a CD. Probably one of the more interesting modern grind bands to come out of America. The electronic drums, I think they also do have a live drummer as well. So they do that kind of like, they want the texture, organic sort of addition that a live drummer brings to the sound, but they also want that kind of dynamic contribution that electronic drums bring in. It's still very much a guitar-driven cassette full length. You're there, for that bridge of blistering grind riff work to like the super heavy death metal stuff. I would still call this a grind band first and foremost, but just the weight and size of it, plus all the different sort of interesting rhythm additions that you get from the two-sided or two-headed drum piece is really cool. So Throat Breach, Humiliating, Distortion. I think this is all sold out on Desert Wasteland. I don't know where you'd want to find this. I had to pick this up through Discogs, but super cool. I mean, maybe the best grind album. There's a few that I would sort of lump this in. This is definitely competing for it. All the other bands I would say that are a part of this, I would say like category or echelon, are on CD and vinyl. So this is the one that only got a cassette release to my knowledge, and I hope it gets picked up for later distribution on a different format, because it's an amazing grind band, and this is hands down their most fully realized effort. So Throat Breach, Humiliating, Distortion. Okay, got all my tapes done, and that's gonna be it for us today. I'm gonna be gone for a little bit. I may put up a new video before I take off. I'm gonna head back to Oregon, where I hope to improve my video editing skills. So I've been wanting to do that for a while, but I thought getting out of away from my record collection and back to see some family and friends when in the downtime during quarantine, and when I'm just chilling out with family, I'll probably grab my computer and play around with some software stuff. So hopefully some cool things are in the works here for you at Killing for Company. Until then, thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.